There's a lot of work putting together a podcast, so in this short bonus episode, I'm going to give a shout out to a few people who have helped me to create Architecture Business Club, the weekly podcast for solo and small firm architecture practice owners just like you who want to build a profitable, future-proof architecture business that fits around their life. I'm the host, John Clayton, and if you want to get notified when I release a new episode and get access to free resources and exclusive offers, then go to mrjohnclayton.co.uk/ABC and sign up to my free weekly email newsletter. Hey, it's John. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I just wanted to say that without these people, maybe I wouldn't have got to where I am with this show. So in no particular order, I would really like to thank the support teams at Descript, Squadcast and Captivate. I'd like to give a shout out to the podcast host Colin Gray. The training that he did on podcasting with Mark Asquith, that was within the Atomic Community membership site, was really useful in getting me started. I'd also like to give a shout out to Mark Asquith, the CEO and co-founder of Captivate. In particular, the podcast launch accelerator course that Mark put together that's available for free on the Captivate site was invaluable in planning out the podcast and getting things started. I'd like to thank Mike and Liz Cole for their continued support on this journey that I've been on the last few months, and also the members of their Cole Collective, who again have been particularly supportive and giving me feedback along the way on this journey. In particular, actually, I'd want to give a shout out to my podcast mastermind buddy, Danielle Hone, who's also a member of the Cole Collective, but we've been meeting every week and we've been helping each other, supporting each other to get our own podcast started. And that's been really valuable. So I really appreciate that. A special shout out goes to Trevor Smith, a fellow chartered architectural technologist who's been supporting me with my various endeavours for quite some time now. Thanks, Trevor. I'd also like to thank Chris Ducker and Chloe Ducker and their Upreneur incubator community that have been cheerleading me along the way too. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Andrew and Pete and everyone in Team Atomic. Again, whenever I've been stuck with anything, needed some feedback or support, Andrew and Pete and the guys from that community have always been there. They've always got my back if I get stuck with anything, not just podcast related, but just generally with the business as well. So that's been awesome. I'd like to thank Rachel Extance and all the members of Rachel's writing club that she runs. Again, that's been a fantastic place to be able to get feedback on some of the written copy that I've had to write, some of the planning that I've had to do, even things like getting feedback and help writing a press release to tell everybody about the podcast. There's so much work that goes into it that it's quite incredible, really. I'd like to thank CIAT, Designing Buildings, Linden News, Podcasting Today, and any other websites and publications that published an article about the podcast launch following that press release. The members of the CIAT AT Community WhatsApp group, thanks again for your support. And I'd also like to thank my first three victims. my first three amazing guests that have come on the show, Linden Dover, Janine Coombs and Kris Baxter, plus all the other incredible guests who've said yes to being interviewed by me before the show had even launched, before I'd even done any interviews. I don't take it for granted that you all had so much faith in me to be able to pull this off. So thank you so much for that. And everyone that's liked, shared or commented on any of my posts about the show, I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me and it just helps to let everybody know about the show. And last but not least, I'd like to give a shout out to my wife, Jo, for her ongoing patience and support. Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Architecture Business Club. If you liked this episode, think other people might enjoy it, or just want to show your support, then please visit podchaser.com, search for Architecture Business Club, and leave a glowing 5-star review. It would mean so much to me and makes it easier for new listeners to discover the show. If you just want to connect with me, you can do that on most social media platforms. Just search for @Mr. John Clayton. The best place to connect with me online, though, is on LinkedIn. You can find a link to my profile in the show notes. Remember, running your architecture business doesn't have to be hard, and you don't need to do it alone. This is Architecture Business Club.